There are 3 things that visibly degrade the appearance of skin over time: acne, accelerated aging, and poor texture, and the research on all 3 points to the same conclusion. The primary drivers are not inadequate skincare products, they are daily habits and dietary inputs that most people never connect to what they see in the mirror. This video breaks down 7 of the most damaging habits into the 3 categories of harm they cause. If you struggle with any of these 3 outcomes, at least one of the habits in this list is a contributing factor. The biology behind each one is specific, and understanding it will change how you think about what is actually happening in your skin. Acne killer number 1. The dietary inputs driving gut-mediated breakouts when acne is persistent. Particularly when it does not respond to topical treatment, the gut is frequently the overlooked variable. The connection between gut function and skin condition is mediated through what researchers call the gut-skin axis. The intestinal barrier serves as a selective filter between the contents of the digestive tract and the bloodstream. When that barrier is chronically inflamed or compromised, a condition driven largely by dietary inputs, bacterial endotoxins and inflammatory signaling molecules cross into circulation, the immune system responds with systemic inflammation, and the skin, as one of the body's primary elimination and immune response organs, reflects that inflammation in the form of breakouts. The foods most consistently associated with gut-mediated inflammation and acne are the following: skim milk, which has a higher glycemic index than whole milk due to the removal of fat and has been independently associated with acne in multiple published studies, likely through its effect on insulin-like growth factor 1. Refined carbohydrates, white bread, sugary cereals, and anything made with refined flour, which spike blood glucose rapidly and drive insulin and IGF-1 elevation. Artificial sweeteners found in many condiments and packaged foods labeled sugar-free, which research suggests can alter the gut microbiome composition in ways that increase intestinal permeability. Processed and prepackaged foods broadly, which typically contain emulsifiers, preservatives, and refined oils that disrupt gut barrier integrity. Processed meats containing nitrates and chemical additives. And fruit juices, which despite their natural origin deliver a concentrated sugar load to the bloodstream with the fiber removed, the component that would otherwise moderate the glucose response. The practical assessment is straightforward. If you're consuming 0 to 1 of these categories regularly, gut-mediated inflammation is unlikely to be a primary driver of your acne. If you're consuming 2 to 3 daily, it is a contributing factor worth investigating. If you're consuming 4 or more daily, the evidence suggests your gut is a significant source of the systemic inflammation producing your breakouts. And no topical skincare routine will fully address a problem originating in the digestive system. Acne killer number 2. How you handle existing pimples. The instinct to pop a visible pimple is understandable. The biology of what happens when you do it incorrectly is the reason the instinct should be resisted. A pimple represents a follicle that has become blocked with sebum and dead skin cells and has subsequently been colonized by Cotobacterium acnes bacteria. The inflammatory response to that colonization is what produces the visible raised lesion. When you apply uncontrolled pressure with bare fingers, the pressure does not necessarily expel the contents outward. It frequently ruptures the follicle wall inward, introducing the sebum, bacteria, and inflammatory debris into the surrounding dermis. The immune response to that deeper contamination is more intense than the original pimple, and the result is a larger, more inflamed lesion than the one you started with. The correct approach to an active pimple combines targeted antiseptic treatment with barrier repair. Begin with clean hands. Wrap the fingers in clean tissue to prevent direct bacterial transfer from fingertips to skin. If the pimple has a visible whitehead indicating it is ready to drain, apply gentle, even pressure from the sides. Then apply hydrogen peroxide to the area using a folded clean tissue. The peroxide functions as an antiseptic, killing surface bacteria and oxidizing the inflammatory debris. After 30 seconds, the visible redness will typically reduce as the acute inflammatory response subsides. Before sleep, apply a small amount of an antibiotic ointment such as Neosporin over the area. This maintains a moist, healing environment, prevents bacterial recolonization overnight, and significantly accelerates resolution. Vitamin C applied over the area addresses pigmentation, the post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation that frequently outlasts the pimple itself, is driven by melanin overproduction triggered by inflammation, and vitamin C inhibits the tyrosinase enzyme responsible for that melanin synthesis. On the topic of shaving and breakouts, multi-blade razors contribute to acne along the jawline and neck through a mechanism that is direct and well understood. Each additional blade in a multi-blade system contacts the same strip of skin in rapid succession, producing cumulative microtrauma to the skin barrier and spreading bacteria across the shaved surface. Electric shavers with thin foil heads reduce this mechanical damage significantly, which is why their use is a genuine recommendation for acne-prone individuals who shave regularly. Acne killer number 3, the daily habits reinfecting your skin. Acne that recurs persistently, despite treatment, is frequently a reinfection problem rather than a production problem. The skin is being cleared and then being recontaminated by objects in daily contact with the face. Consider the bacteriology of each of the following. A bathroom towel used daily accumulates staphylococcus and other skin bacteria with each use. Pressing that towel against freshly cleansed skin deposits those bacteria directly onto the surface. A toilet that is flushed with the setup aerosols bacteria containing droplets into the surrounding air. Research published in the journal Physics of Fluids documented plume dispersion reaching several feet, which is relevant if your skincare products or towels are stored near the toilet. Pillowcases accumulate sebum, dead skin cells, and bacteria over days of use, and a face pressed against that surface for 8 hours nightly is in sustained contact with a contaminated substrate. Clay masks and physical scrubs used daily disrupt the skin barrier rather than supporting it. The barrier requires its lipid matrix to remain intact, and daily abrasion degrades that matrix, leaving the skin more vulnerable to bacterial penetration and irritation. The corrective actions are low cost and straightforward. Wash the face with a clean section of a fresh towel or use disposable facial cloths. Close the toilet lid before flushing. Change pillowcases at minimum twice per week. Reserve clay masks and exfoliating treatments for once or twice weekly use at most. The products you apply to your skin can only perform as well as the environment you maintained around your skin allows. Aging killer number 4. What dietary sugar does to skin structure. Sugar's effect on skin aging operates through a specific biochemical process called glycation. Understanding this mechanism changes how the consequences of dietary sugar feel. They go from abstract future risk to an ongoing structural process happening in real time. Glycation occurs when glucose molecules in the bloodstream bond non-enzymatically to proteins. In the skin, the proteins most affected are collagen and elastin, the structural fibers that give skin its firmness and elasticity. When glucose attaches to these proteins, it forms cross-links between the fibers, producing structures called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. Glycated collagen and elastin lose their flexible, organized structure. They become stiff, brittle, and less capable of maintaining the skin surface architecture. The visual result is accelerated formation of fine lines, reduced skin firmness, and a dull, compromised complexion. The timeline of observable change when dietary sugar is significantly reduced follows the physiology precisely. Within the first 24 to 72 hours, blood glucose and insulin levels stabilize. Lower insulin means reduced stimulation of the oil glands through IGF-1 signaling. Insulin-like growth factor 1 directly upregulates sebum production, and as it drops, oil production decreases. By days 3 to 7, systemic inflammation driven by repeated glucose spikes begins to resolve, and water retention, which is partly driven by insulin's effect on sodium retention in the kidneys, reduces. The face appears less puffy and more defined. By day 14, IGF-1 stimulation is meaningfully lower, oil gland activity has normalized, and the inflammatory inputs that were continuously degrading collagen have subsided. The collagen that has already been glycated does not regenerate quickly. This is the structural damage that requires months of reduced sugar intake and active collagen-supporting inputs. Vitamin C, adequate protein, sun protection to address, but stopping the ongoing glycation process is the prerequisite for any recovery to occur. Aging killer number 5. The 3 drinks accelerating skin aging. 3 of the most commonly consumed beverages each contribute to visible skin aging through distinct physiological mechanisms, and understanding those mechanisms explains why no topical product can fully compensate for the damage they cause. Sugary drinks, sodas, sweetened teas, energy drinks, and fruit juices deliver glucose to the bloodstream faster than almost any food source because the liquid form bypasses the mechanical and enzymatic digestive steps that slow absorption from solid food. The resulting glucose spike drives acute glycation, the collagen-damaging process described above, and the associated insulin spike drives IGF-1-mediated oil production. The frequency and magnitude of these spikes, not any single instance, is what accumulates into visible aging over time. Alcohol suppresses antidiuretic hormone, specifically vasopressin, the hormone that signals the kidneys to retain water. With vasopressin suppressed, the kidneys excrete more fluid than they otherwise would, producing systemic dehydration. Skin hydration is directly linked to the volume of water in the dermis and the epidermis's ability to retain it. Dehydrated skin has reduced plumpness and resilience, making existing lines more visible and accelerating the formation of new ones. Alcohol also elevates cortisol, which impairs collagen synthesis and drives inflammatory pathways that degrade the extracellular matrix. Coffee's contribution to skin aging is indirect but significant for a specific reason. Most people use it as a substitute for water in the morning, rather than as an addition to adequate hydration. Coffee is mildly diuretic, and when it is the first and primary fluid consumed in the morning after 8 hours without hydration, it extends the dehydrated state rather than addressing it. The additional problem is the pairing. Coffee consumed with refined sugar and flavored syrups delivers the glycation-inducing glucose load described above on top of the dehydrating effect. The practical application of this information is not elimination of these beverages. It is sequencing and moderation. Begin every morning with water before consuming caffeine. Coffee consumed after adequate hydration does not carry the same risk. Alcohol limited to occasional consumption gives the skin adequate time to recover between exposures. Sugary beverages treated as an infrequent indulgence rather than a daily habit reduce the cumulative glycation burden substantially. Texture killer number 6. The biology of under-eye puffiness and how cold reduces it. The puffiness that accumulates under the eyes, particularly in the morning, is the result of fluid pooling in the loose connective tissue of the periorbital region overnight. During sleep, the reduction in movement and the horizontal position reduce the normal gravitational drainage of interstitial fluid. In individuals with thin under-eye skin and weakened vascular walls, this fluid accumulation is more pronounced and slower to resolve after waking. Cold application addresses this through vasoconstriction. When skin temperature drops rapidly, the blood vessels in the area contract, reducing blood flow, and the associated fluid pressure driving extravasation into the surrounding tissue. The result is a measurable and visible reduction in puffiness within minutes of application. The key requirements for effective application are consistent cold temperature and sustained even pressure across the area, both of which determine how fully the vasoconstriction is achieved. The frozen chapstick method described here, filling an empty lip balm tube with water, freezing it, and rolling it under the eye, addresses both requirements practically. The cylindrical shape delivers even rolling pressure without the dripping and mess of ice. The plastic housing moderates the cold slightly, preventing the skin damage that direct ice contact can cause. The result is equivalent to more expensive under-eye tools marketed for the same purpose at a fraction of the cost. The limitation, as with all cold-based treatments for under-eye concerns, is that the effect is temporary. Structural causes of dark circles, including thin skin with visible underlying vasculature, pigmentation, and volume loss, require different interventions. Cold is effective for fluid-based puffiness. It does not address the other contributing factors. Texture killer number 7. Expired skincare and bacterial contamination. Skincare products are formulated with preservative systems designed to maintain stability and prevent microbial growth for a defined period after opening. Once that period has elapsed, 2 categories of degradation occur. First, active ingredients lose potency, retinoids oxidize, vitamin C degrades, SPF filters break down. Second, and more consequentially for acne-prone skin, the preservative system is no longer sufficient to prevent bacterial and fungal growth in the product itself. Applying a contaminated product to the face introduces bacteria directly to the skin surface, producing the breakouts the product was ostensibly intended to prevent. 3 methods allow you to determine whether a product is still within its effective window. The first is the printed expiration date, which some products carry directly on the packaging. Water-based formulations, serums, toners, gel moisturizers are particularly susceptible to microbial contamination because water is the primary medium in which bacteria and fungi grow. These products should be treated conservatively relative to their stated expiration. The second is the period after opening symbol, commonly called the POW symbol. A small open jar icon followed by a number and the letter M, indicating months of safe use after the container is first opened. This symbol is present on most regulated skincare products and is the most reliable guide for determining current usability. The third method applies when no date or symbol is present, and it is based on container type. A pump dispenser minimizes air and bacterial exposure with each use, extending the product's safe window to approximately 12 months after opening. Screw cap jars expose the entire product surface to air and to whatever is on your fingers with each use, limiting safe use to approximately 6 months. SPF products degrade more rapidly when exposed to heat and light. A sunscreen stored in a hot car can become ineffective within 3 months regardless of its labeled expiration. Checking and rotating your skincare products based on these criteria costs nothing and eliminates a consistent source of bacterial recontamination that undermines every other effort you make to keep your skin clear. The 7 habits covered here: dietary inputs driving gut inflammation, improper pimple handling, daily recontamination of the skin, chronic sugar consumption glycating structural proteins, dehydrating beverages extending overnight fluid imbalance, failure to use cold effectively for puffiness, and applying expired contaminated products represent the category of skin damage that no topical product can fully overcome. The reason skincare routines frequently disappoint is that they are addressing the surface while these inputs continue operating underneath. Remove the inputs. Give the products a clear substrate to work on. The improvement that follows is not the product working better, it is the product finally being able to work at all.